Hi kids, it's Heidi, your adopted farmer at Boadwine Farms again with this month's video. One of the things that we do in the wintertime when it gets cold out, because the baby calves, when they're born, they're wet. So we let them be with their mom. Their mom will lick them off because that's what a good cow mom will do. And then we bring them inside. We have a room with some clean bedding. We've got a heater and it's insulated so that they have time to dry off. And then once the calves are dry, we use you as an example, we have a jacket for them. So it's made out of thin-slate material, just like a good jacket that we would wear. And we put it on the calf, and then we buckle it over their legs, and then they keep their jacket on for about 3 weeks until they're really growing well, and then we'll take it off, we'll wash it, and we'll put it on the next calf. So that's just one of the things we do to try to keep the babies warm in the wintertime. This is our feeding area. You saw a little bit of the pile behind me when they were bringing it in from the field. That's our corn silage pile. And then if you show over to the building here is what we call a commodity shed. This is like our mixing center. It has all the different ingredients that we put into each animal's ration so that it's easy and close by for the loader to load into our feed wagon. Right now he's dumping haylage in, and we back the wagon inside a building now because many of our ingredients, if they're dry, the wind will blow them away, and we don't want the wind to blow the ingredients away. We want them to be in the wagon so the cows can eat them. And each ration is made up of, like I said, of different ingredients. And it is formulated by our nutritionist, and it's measured out by weight. There's a scale on our feed wagon, and there's also a scale inside the loader that the loader operator can easily see. And when it gets to that weight, the scale will trip and it'll move on and tell them what the next ingredient is. This is a Sweet Bran semi. He's delivering an ingredient for us called Sweet Bran. It's a byproduct, and he's working on Sunday. We're actually taping on a Sunday today, so it's just a little indication of while you guys are taking the day off of school and maybe relaxing, as farmers we don't get to have the day off because the cows have to be fed every day and they have to be milked every day. So on Sunday these guys are working to make sure the cows are getting taken care of. So this ingredient is the Sweet Bran that we're going to dump into the wagon now, and it's kind of noisy behind us, but if you want to pan over to the scale, you can see that as he dumps in, we needed 2,040 pounds, and it will count down to 0 when the weight gets to 0. It takes a little bit of practice for these loaders to be able to shake the right amount of feed in there and not get too much or too little. It's getting closer. 50, 40, 30, 10, 0. So now it should trip and it'll go to the next ingredient. So we need 4,130 pounds of our pre-fresh PDF, which is a mineral mix. So that we have a lot of technology on the farm, and we have a lot of science behind what we do, because when we harvest our crops we check the nutrient value of all of them to see exactly what is in every ingredient and what we need to add in our mineral mix that maybe is not in the crops. And that's why, like I said, we have a nutritionist who does that for us. So here comes the fresh cow PDF, and this is, you'll see, kind of a powdery mix, and this is exactly why we want to be inside so that the wind doesn't blow it away. Another thing that we have in our feeding area here behind the wagon, oops, you can see some things hanging down. You can maybe see that's kind of dusty in here now, but we can add water or we can add liquid feed, and that way it's stored inside a tank that's in a insulated building so it doesn't freeze. But we can add water, or we can add another kind of mineral that's in a liquid form. And then there's also behind there's 3 things. Those are auger heads. Those will actually bring other powdered feeds like what the loader just dumped in. They'll bring them in smaller amounts through an auger. That also helps so that they don't blow away, because you saw how much dust that made, and we just don't want to lose all that nutrient. So that's why we try to keep it out of the wind. This is the building where the cows live, the freestall barn. We call it freestall barn because of the dividers are these loops, these metal loops that kind of keep them separated and laying in the right direction. We call it the right direction because we want the manure to all come into the middle so that it's easy for us to clean it out when it's time to clean the pen. The cows get milked 3 times every day, so every time the group of cows goes out of the pen, we bring a skid loader in with a thing on the front. It's a big tire that pushes all the manure into the end, into a pit, and then we can actually separate the sand out of the manure. And the sand they lay on, because it's soft and it's dry and it's readily available and it doesn't let bacteria grow well. Bacteria can cause sickness inside the cow's mammary system or where the milk comes from, so we want to keep that clean and dry at all times. So you can see why we have the cow's rear end all point in the same direction. But they're also free stalls because the cows can come and go anytime they want. They can get up. They can go down to the end of the pen here. On the other side of this little wall is a water fountain. There's 3 to 4 water fountains in each group of cows. So they can drink whenever they want. They can eat whenever they want. And one thing I want to show you here, if you want to look at 7944, how she's chewing. She's chewing, but she's not eating. And that's because cows are what we call ruminant animals. They have a different stomach system than we do as people. So they eat a whole bunch of feed, and then later when they're relaxing, they'll spit it up and they'll chew it, which sounds kind of gross, but that's just the way that cows are made. So they can eat feeds that we can't eat and be able to utilize the energy from it. When it's cold out in the wintertime, we go inside and we close all our windows on our houses and keep it sealed up because we like it to be about 70 degrees. That, as humans, is our comfortable temperature. Cows are a little bit different. Their comfortable temperature is closer to 45 or 50 degrees. So they really like cooler weather, which is in part because they have a big, thick coat of hair on them, and so they always have a good coat on, and they have a lot of insulation even in the summertime. It's harder for us to keep the cows cool in the summer than it is for us to keep them warm in the winter. And a couple of things that we do is on the outside wall here, it's maybe hard to see, but maybe if you look up, it's what we call a curtain. It's a sheet of plastic poly material that we can open and close. In the bottom half we close in the winter and it always stays down, but the top we can move as to whether it might be 30 degrees one day or minus 10 degrees one day, and if the wind is blowing. So when it's really cold, we want to crank that curtain all the way up so that the snow and the wind doesn't blow in. But when it's 30 degrees, we can lower it so that there's more air circulating inside the cow barn. And in the summertime, we can take that bottom curtain and roll it all the way up so that there's lots of air movement in the barn. And then another thing we do is we put fans in all the cow pens so that there's always air blowing on them. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm glad you guys keep watching, and don't forget to drink your milk.